Quite tearfully, this is the last Thursday episode of Live and Spooky Month. But it's a goodie. This week we've been talking about Latin American shared stories, a vibrant collection of speculative stories and fascinating essays highlighting the many voices, mythologies, folklore, and storytelling prowess of authors from Latin American countries or writing in the traditions of the Latin American diaspora. On Tuesday's episode we heard two stories, Nacho by Daniel Olivas and Sucker by Alyssa Alessi, read by the book's editor, V. Castro. If you've been following along with our Live and Spooky Month celebrations, you'll know that today we're going to be hearing from the authors in the anthology, about both themselves and their stories within the collection. If you stay to the end of the episode, you'll also get a listener-exclusive discount code to get 30% off the anthology on our website. So sit back and prepare to be thoroughly convinced that your library has a Latin American shared story shaped hole in it.
Hey, my name is David Bowles. I am a Mexican-American author and translator from Deep South Texas, and my story is Whispering Shards. It's a sword and sorcery tale set in the 10th century in Mesoamerica before the Spanish invasion, and one cool thing about it is it serves as a sort of sequel to the myth of Quetzalcoatl, who was incarnated as a human being and ruled over the Toltec Empire. So I think you'll enjoy it. It's a great fantasy peek into a very interesting series of myths and time period.
Hi, I'm A.E. Santana, the author of In the Black and White Woods, a personal essay appearing in Latin American shared stories. I write horror and dark fantasy, usually in the themes of social commentaries or the human condition. I'm also the co-chair of the Horror Writers Association, the Colorado chapter, and I run the National Virtual Horror Book Club Creepy Story Collective. I'm a professional editor and an educator. I teach college English, and my perfect day would consist of a cup of black tea and my cat, Flynn Kernet. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Gustavo Bondoni. I'm a writer from Argentina who, as you can probably tell from my accent, has also spent some time living outside of the country. My story in Latin American shared stories is called Southward Then Upward, and it's about how a little bit of innovation can help indigenous tribes make the most of their inherited land or what little was left to them by colonial governments. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Ivette Diaz, and I'm an author of a sci-fi fantasy dystopian romance series called the I Am Chronicles. My short story called Taino and Untold Stories is set in the early 1500s and is about a Taino Spanish girl who is trying to save her family from conquistadors. She fights them using the protection of the island and the fantastical elements that she has connected with the island around her. I hope you enjoy it.
I'm Juliana Spink Mills, author of the story The Snake God's Wake. Currently I live in the USA, but I was born in England and moved to Brazil, my mother's homeland, when I was 8. That's where I spent most of my life, in the city of São Paulo, which is where my story takes place. When people hear Brazil, they usually think of beaches or rainforests, not cities, which is why I chose the concrete wilderness of São Paulo as a setting. The Snake God's Wake is a fevered dream of an urban tale that spans dusk to dawn. I hope you enjoy the ride.
Hello. My name is LP Hernandez. I am the writer of El Puente. I'm primarily a horror author. I also co-own So Below Books, indie horror press, and I'm the host of Dog-Eared Nightmares. When I'm not doing any of those things, I'm in my final year in the Air Force, and I am a husband, a father, and a dedicated metalhead. El Puente is a story about a man who, while dying, learns there is a sacred beauty in carrying trauma and transforming it into something new.
Hi, I'm Laura Diaz Arce. I am a software-based multi-genre writer, and I'm also the author of The Mother of Canals of Dade County. And my fun fact is that a Madre de Aguas will travel to the ocean to die.
I'm Dr. Andrew Chesnut, Professor of Religious Studies at Virginia Commonwealth University and I'm thrilled to be a contributor to this excellent anthology called Latin American Shared Stories. My chapter is entitled Mestiza Death, How the Spanish Grim Reapers Morphed into Mexican Santa Muerte, and it takes a look at the historical development of what is today the fastest growing new religious movement, not only in Mexico, but in the entire world. I estimate there's some 12 million devotees in only 20 years since 2001. I think you'll really enjoy this fantastic volume edited by Castro.
What if the current colonization, gentrification, and environmental upheaval currently happening in Puerto Rico kept happening unimpeded? What would that future look like? And what happens when a supernatural being comes along to change everything? My name is Richie Narvaez, and my story in Latin American Shared Stories is called Isla del Encanto Perdido. Comes along with some Lovecraftian sabor in the prose. Buen provecho. I hope you like it.
Hi, I'm Rios de la Luz. In Latin American Shared Stories, I am the author of the short story Maternal Instinct. In this story, Alma is a widow who is under the assumption that her house is haunted. She's a new mother who is in the depths of postpartum exhaustion. In her postpartum fog, she deals with the maternal ghosts of her past, and she wonders if the scratching behind the walls in her room are all in her imagination. It is such an honor to be a part of this collection. I hope you check it out.
Hello, this is Ruth Joffre, author of the story collection Night Beast. I'm very excited to have a new story out in Latin American Shared Stories, an anthology edited by Castro. My story is called La Diablada, and it's about a butch lesbian who works in the mines of Bolivia and is forced to make a deal with the devil while mentoring a baby butch. I'm really excited about this story, and I hope you love it.
Hello. I'm Alessandro Martinez, a horror writer and author of several books, short stories, and poems. I live here in a spooky manor where I like to practice necromancy, hang out with the bats in the attic, read all my books and tomes, and generally lurk in the dark. My piece, The Stained Walls, will appear in Latin American Shared Stories.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Molina, and I'm a Mexican-American writer of speculative horror, and I have a short story titled A Garden of Salt and Flesh that's being published in the Latin American Short Stories. And it's about a girl who's denied entry by a mining death god until she avenges her death and stops the destruction of sacred land. And it's inspired by the souls of the departed who stay behind and guards people and the land, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, my name is Wi-Moto Nyoka, Afro-Mexicana horror writer and founder of Dusky Projects, where I produce immersive horror works. I am the author of And Then I Wake Up, a story that explores how nightmares can push people to action. Check it out, and all the other amazing works in Latin American Shared Stories, brought to you by Flame Tree Publishing.
I'm sure you've been able to tell from those little snippets, but this anthology contains stories with inspirations from the early folklore and mythologies of Latin America to current and topical perspectives on what being from Latin America means in today's world, making it an important and fascinating read. But you don't have to just take my word for it. You've heard from those who know it best. Not that you need any more convincing, but we also have that discount code for you all. To get 30% off Latin American Shared Stories on our website, flametreepublishing.com, you can use the code SHAREDSCARES. That's SHAREDSCARES. All caps, no spaces, Shared Scares. Thank you to all of the anthology contributors who sent audio clips in for this episode, and a thank you to all of you for your live and spooky support. We'll be back next week for a very special episode because it's going to give you all a myth and fiction podcast first. We're going to be reading extracts from 2 of our horror novels. These are both new releases, Unseen Gods by Justin Holly and An Echo of Children by Ramsey Campbell. We'll see you next week.